It started with a letter on my windshield, not a warning, not a neighborly complaint, just a smug little notice from the HOA, tucked neatly under my wiper blade, like it was doing me a favor. Unauthorized landscaping structure. Immediate removal required. That structure was my homemade stormwater dam, a project I built with my own hands, on my own property, to stop the flood runoff that had turned my backyard into a swamp 3 years in a row. But the HOA? They said it didn't match the neighborhood aesthetic. Aesthetic. Funny choice of word when your house is sinking into mud and mold every spring. They gave me 7 days to tear it down. I begged them to reconsider, offered blueprints, drainage reports, even video footage of last year's flood. They didn't care. They smiled, threatened legal action, and then forced it. The day they tore it down, they acted like they'd done the neighborhood a favor, like I was some eccentric eyesore threatening their property values. One board member even called it a mud moat. He laughed. But I knew something they didn't. The rainy season was coming early. And when it hit hard, the water didn't just flood my yard. It destroyed their entire neighborhood. And that's when everything changed. They ruined my dam. But I had a plan. And when karma came rushing in, it didn't trickle. It roared. I moved into that neighborhood 4 years ago. Nice houses. Low crime. Quiet nights. But what they don't tell you on the brochure is how the whole block sits, just below a shallow slope. One that turns into a riverbank when the rains come. The city never fixed it, said it was non-critical terrain. So each year, the runoff from the hill behind our row would flood, every backyard from mine down to the cul-de-sac. Most neighbors just accepted it, laid down sandbags, replaced carpets every March. But me? I'm an engineer. I like fixing things. So I spent a summer building a French drain and a soil berm across the back edge of my property, a small concrete dam, fully permeable, reinforced. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. The next rain season, my property was bone dry. But that's when they noticed. At first, it was just passive-aggressive notes. Then a knock on the door. HOA rep, buttoned up, smiled like she rehearsed it. We've had a few concerns. Some neighbors feel your backyard structure is unusual. It could affect cohesion. Cohesion? I asked. You know, visual unity. Property values. I offered to walk her through the engineering. She declined. Instead, she handed me an envelope. Violation notice, apparently. My dam didn't comply with the HOA's landscape harmony guidelines. No appeal. No hearing. That's when I realized this wasn't about flooding. It was about control. The HOA wanted order. And my dam? It was defiance. Visible proof that someone solved a problem without their permission. Then came the final letter. Remove it within 7 days, or face fines up to $1,000 a week. I tried reasoning. Then one morning, I came home to find contractors smashing it apart, unannounced, unauthorized. They'd trespassed onto my land to enforce compliance. That was the moment. I stood in my yard, staring at the ruins of something I built to protect my home. And I knew that was just the beginning. After the dam was destroyed, I started getting fines, weekly, then daily, for things like improper mulch distribution, visible tools in backyard shed, off-tone exterior lighting. They even cited me for unsightly utility markings. The paint lines left by the city after the HOA themselves called an inspection. It was absurd, but I didn't fight them, yet, because I noticed something. The more they fined me, the more smug they got. I wasn't the only target. Anyone who resisted, even slightly, became a punching bag. One neighbor, Carla, had a rain barrel. They made her remove it. Another Mark planted native grasses. Got fined for weeds. It was all a show of force. So I smiled, paid the fines, and waited. Then came November. A rare cold front collided with a subtropical jet stream. The forecast, unprecedented rainfall, flash flood warnings. I knew exactly what was coming. And what wasn't coming, help. That dam was never cosmetic. It redirected the entire drainage pattern. Without it, water would funnel straight down into the lower yards, directly into the homes of 6 of the HOA board members. And that's exactly what happened. The rain started on a Thursday. By Friday night, storm drains were backing up. Saturday morning, I heard the screams. Water surged through the block like a river. Basements flooded. Lawns collapsed. I stood in my dry garage sipping coffee, watching neighbors haul drenched furniture into the street. But karma wasn't done. Turns out the HOA contractors who tore down my dam, they never filed permits. They'd cut into utility piping and left, exposed soil that caused a mini Landslide behind the board president's yard. His entire retaining wall collapsed. I called the city, anonymously. And guess what? Because of the unauthorized work and damage to storm management infrastructure, the HOA was now liable. Their insurance denied the claims. Several homes were declared temporarily uninhabitable. And the cherry on top, I'd recorded everything: photos, permits, drainage maps, even the unauthorized demolition. I compiled it into a neat little report and mailed it, certified, to every homeowner in the neighborhood. And one more place, the state's attorney, General's Office for HOA Abuse and Negligence. The moment that package landed, the tide turned. My plan wasn't revenge. It was exposure. I knew the system better than they did, the legal one. I filed a complaint with the city's stormwater division, attaching time-stamped photos of the dam, the destruction, and the resulting flood path. The city opened an inquiry. I requested a hearing at the next HOA meeting and brought copies of my certified engineering assessment. But the real kicker? I circulated a petition, door to door, proposing a vote of no confidence in the current HOA board. At first, people were hesitant, until they saw the price tag: tens of thousands in flood damage, no insurance, all because the board didn't like how my concrete looked. Suddenly, that weird engineer guy became the guy who warned us. Neighbors I'd never spoken to were thanking me, shaking my hand. At the emergency meeting, the board tried to deflect. Blamed the weather, blamed incomplete permitting. That's when I stood up and calmly said, actually, the structure was up to code, and your unauthorized removal of it is what redirected the flood path. Here's the map. I passed it around, gasps, murmurs, then silence. One board member quietly resigned that night. Another screamed and stormed out. We held the vote. 4 out of 5 members removed. The new interim board, voted in by petitioners. First act, reimburse me for damages and legal fees. Second, motion to rebuild the dam at HOA expense. Symbolically, I declined the offer. I'd already rebuilt it, but now they posted a plaque next to it. Community Resilience Project. Poetic. The next rainfall came 6 weeks later. Same storm pattern, same hill, same flash flood warnings. This time, the water hit the dam, spread evenly across the drainage path, and vanished into the now cleared storm channels. Bone dry, I stood there as HOA members, neighbors, and even city officials came to inspect it. One of them asked, "How'd you know this would work?" I smiled, because you don't argue with gravity. You work with it. The board president? He tried to sue for damages, said my report defamed him. Turns out, when you misappropriate HOA funds and violate city code, that's public record. His case was dismissed. He eventually moved. And the kicker? The new HOA board created a rule. No structural modification may be removed without a civil engineering review. They named it the Hastings Clause, after me. From eyesore to blueprint. Funny how fast perception shifts when it floods your kitchen. But the most satisfying part? That same neighbor who laughed about my mud moat. I saw him the other day, hauling in sandbags. He nodded at me. Didn't say a word. Didn't have to. It's funny how the thing people mock you for often ends up being the thing they wish they had. I didn't build that dam out of spite. I built it out of necessity. But sometimes, necessity is the best teacher. The HOA thought they were protecting the neighborhood, but they were really just protecting their ego. And when the water came, it didn't care about bylaws. It followed physics. What I've learned? Sometimes the best revenge is being right, with receipts. But even more, it's seeing the same people who fought you, now asking for advice. We rebuilt more than a dam. We rebuilt trust. And for anyone watching this who's ever been bulldozed by petty power, I'll say this: stand your ground. Document everything, and let the rain do the rest. What would you have done if your HOA destroyed your flood defense? Let me know in the comments. I read everyone. And if you stuck through this whole story, comment "Justice served," so I know who my people are. Subscribe for more wild, real stories, because sometimes the truth floods harder than fiction.